More holiday layoffs. Let's do it.
So Caroline, as it's shared today at the staff meeting, we are meeting with those who are most directly impacted by this restructuring decision. Unfortunately, your position is one that is being eliminated. I want to recognize how challenging this news might be. Please know that this decision is no way a reflection of your effort, the impact you've had. You have been a vital part of our team, and I deeply appreciate your hard work, dedication, and commitment. There is a lot to process, a difficult situation for all of us. Please know that I'm here to support you through the transition in any way I can.
Caroline, okay, I'm going to share some info with you, and you might, if you want to, you can write it down.
Oh, I'm recording this.
So, what was that?
I'm recording this.
Okay. So we've put a package together for you. With our changes, you'll be paid through the end of the week. So if you don't do anything at all, you'll still be paid through the end of the week. You have the option of staying through the end of the month if you sign what's called a transition of duties letter. And you can also keep your monitor and your keyboard and all of that kind of stuff. We would just need the laptop back.
We are here. And any other question you have now?
We're trying to buy a house.
I don't know that, but I understand.
I mean, like, before the holidays? 2 weeks before the holidays? How callous.
Okay. Couple of points here. I know her video is heartbreaking. It's been kind of circulating. The part about this is no reflection on you, that is such a standard sentence. It just seems to be a part of the closing line whenever they basically are telling you, we don't want to fund your position here anymore. To say it's no reflection on you, well, of course it's a reflection on you. Even if it's not directly about you, it's a reflection of the work you did. It's a reflection of the position you held and how, you hopefully thought you did a good job at it and you hope that work was being appreciated. So I think when you're getting laid off, that line of it's no reflection on you, I think they can probably take it and kick it out the door, to be personally honest, because it is a reflection. I'm a teacher. I'm passionate about my job. I take it seriously. I want to do a good job. And then to have somebody say to me, well, we can't have you here anymore, but it's not a reflection on you. Of course it's a reflection on me. Absolutely it is. The part about her house and how she just bought a house. When we wonder why Gen Zers and probably the upcoming alphas, okay, are at the point where they go, you know what, there is no loyalty in the corporate world. They are right. There is no loyalty, especially in the world of corporate. Okay. And for me at 57, I really do think in terms of corporate. Okay, there is absolutely no loyalty. Not that you can't get laid off in other, industries, but it's not as likely, okay, because they don't pay as much. That's just the bottom line. I've taught middle school for 16 years. Actually, I'm in my 19th year, 19th year, and I have not met one person that would take my job, that would voluntarily do it. I have not met one. But talk to, someone who's making six figures in corporate, and there'll be a line of people to take it. So when the Gen Zers and the upcoming alphas, and they will eventually learn, okay, go, look, we don't want to be loyal to you anymore. You can't blame them, folks. You can't blame them. There is just no loyalty. There's just none. So the fact that they're buying a house, well, that wouldn't have made any difference even if the company had known. The company would have said, oh, well, so what? It would have made no difference. The staying until the end of the month. I'm looking down here at my little notes. I take out a notepad here. My always thought is once you've broken that relationship with me, I really don't want to face you anymore. That's just my style. It's even like that in not just in a job sense, but even in my personal life. Once you basically say, I have no room, space, time for you, whatever. I'm done. I'm not going to hang out till the end of the month to make sure that you clean up nicely as you leave my life in disarray. Now, of course, some people say, well, that depends upon the financial situation someone is in. But for most cases, I'm not a unemployment attorney or really know much about unemployment law, though I have had to dip into unemployment more than once in my life. Okay, if you're losing your job because of a layoff, not because you're being fired, because I've been in this situation because of layoffs, and I've known people who have. You don't necessarily have to stick around till the end to be given unemployment. Call your unemployment office. Let them know that you're getting laid off. You do not wish to stick around till the end of the month because you need to start spending that time looking now. I think if you have the option, I think you're better off leaving, taking a severance package if they give it to you, of course, and starting to look for another job. Of course, you might need a little, decompressing time. I get that. But sticking around till the end of the month, you're leaving my life in disarray, but you want me to help you clean up and tidy up and probably train the next person.
Just got off a call with a client who's unexpectedly laid off last week. Yes, the second week of December, they got laid off for, in their mind, like absolutely no reason, right? They were hitting their numbers, they were meeting all their goals, their manager kept regularly telling them that they were doing a great job, but their job was eliminated that week right before holiday break. When they really pushed their manager to find out why, they pretty much were told that they were too expensive, right? That they were one of the highest paid employees and this company is looking to get acquired during the new year, and they had to kind of drop some of the more expensive people by the end of Q4, so their salary didn't count in their numbers.
So I was let go from my job.
When she talks about the salary didn't count in their numbers, what she's saying is that, yes, this company that this employee was working at, the company was looking to sell to another company. And as part of the deal about, if I'm understanding this correctly myself, okay, the employee that they're laying off is in such a high income category that that employee is considered an outlier. So they disregarded that employee's figures and said, oh, don't worry about that. We're not even going to put that into the numbers. It's almost sometimes like when teachers are grading. I've been in positions as a teacher, as many teachers have, where sometimes you get someone that does something so extraordinary that meaning they did it so fantastic, okay, that if I were to establish the A based on that one outlier, nobody would achieve an A because they just literally, just blew everybody out of the water. I have to take it to more realistic terms. But that's just for, a middle school assignment, okay? So in this case, and we hear about this a lot, you guys, corporate employees. Again, this is corporate. And why is it corporate? Because it's where the majority of the money is. It's why people want to work in corporate. It's why people don't typically want to go into public service. Okay. It's like, I don't want to spend, 30 years being a teacher or in the military or, I don't want to spend 30 years as a nurse, firefighter, police officer. Okay. Because those jobs typically don't pay as much unless you can climb really high. And of course, you can climb high in the military, you can climb high in education, but you're probably going to have to leave the classroom to do it. Okay. Start going into high level administration stuff. But in relation to the number of, administrators that they need compared to the number of teachers that they need, it's really lopsided, right? It's like, how many soldiers do you need versus how many commanders do you need? So basically, I hate to say you need to be careful, but folks, when you are getting older and you have stayed with the same company, I think that's the huge risk. And I spent 15 years in corporate before I went into education. Staying in the same corporate position, meaning more so the same company, I think you are, and this is just my opinion, feel free to correct me in the comments with anybody who, you're probably, I've been out of corporate for 19, almost 20 years, okay? But if memory serves me correctly, staying with the same company can potentially be the most damaging thing to your future. Because not only can it slow your income, all right, but I think it potentially makes you a target for a layoff because the company, not only are you making so much money in that company, but I think there's also a sense of taking your experience for granted. It's like, oh, Jim Bob's, no offense to the Jims or the Bobs, okay? But it's like Jim Bob's been here for, 20 years. He's not going anywhere. And Jim Bob just stays and stays until they push him out the door. Whereas if Jim Bob is moving every, 4 or 5 years. Yes, in this day and age, changing companies isn't as damaging as it was when I was growing up. Okay, because at 57, when I was growing up, don't forget my parents. Okay, baby boomers, grandparents, silent generation, all that stuff. Okay, so there was more loyalty in the job market, so it was kind of frowned upon if you were bouncing around from job to job. Now it's not really looked at like that anymore. You can move every 4 or 5 years, and I don't think people really blink an eye anymore. So yeah, the layoff. If you become the outlier in your organization, you need to be careful. I'm not saying that as a threat. Anything hyperbolic. I mean, you need to really start considering what your options are going to be.
So I was let go from my job this morning. Did not see it coming. I have been working for this company for about 3 years. I contribute half of our income. I pay like 50% of our bills with my income also. Probably going to be seeing me posting more because now I don't have a job. So I need to make some money. I don't know what to think. I don't even know where to go from here.
I think the best place to go is, at least my experience with job layoffs, and I've had about 3 in my life. To me, I think first you need to just breathe and decompress. Then I think you need to go to the unemployment office, start looking at your benefits, and start using the unemployment office and other resources, namely probably the unemployment office and people and stuff. If you're in such a position as that you've hobnobbed with other people, start letting them know that you're looking for work. One of the worst things you can do when you are unemployed is to not tell people you're unemployed. It's kind of like, if I don't know you're looking for a job, how am I supposed to help you? And I know at times people get, kind of embarrassed, ashamed, whatever about it. And there's nothing to be embarrassed or ashamed about. It's happened to most of us. Most of us will at some point or another. Like I said, I've had job layoffs 3 times. I'm not looking at the jobs, where you quit the job, okay, where you voluntarily quit, but it's where you're being told, we are outsourcing, downsizing, whatever your position, and we don't need you anymore. There's nothing to be embarrassed about, but unfortunately, and understandably, okay, I get it. People do get kind of shy in telling people, hey, I'm looking for work, when yet I can't be, your eyes and ears and give you any tips if I don't know that's what you're looking for.
I got fired from my job 8 days ago. Florida unemployment let me know that they were not going to give me any benefits because I hadn't been working at my previous job for long enough. Oh, that was really hard, and I just basically bawled my eyes out because I feel like I'm trying everything that I possibly can. And that's the worst part about it, because it's not like I'm not trying hard enough, or I'm not applying enough, or that would almost be easier because it would be obvious that's what I would need to do. So I accepted the Starbucks job, and I'm going to do that for a while and keep applying. And so hopefully it won't be a permanent thing, but it'll be something that can just at least get me going.
That's something a lot of young people don't know about. If they think that if they take a job and they get laid off, it automatically means you get unemployment. No, you don't. You have to have stayed in the job long enough for that quarter. And I believe unemployment looks at it by the quarter. Now, I don't even think they look at it by the year. I could be wrong, okay? But I know that to be able to collect unemployment, you had to have paid into unemployment first. And how do you pay into unemployment? By working a job long enough, you've paid into it. And this is what's so frustrating about unemployment programs. You can pay into it for years and years and years, and then when you need it, it can be denied to you. And really one of the big reasons it's denied is because you didn't stay long enough. And it might not be even just that you didn't stay long enough to pay into unemployment. It's you didn't stay long enough in that job, in that state, in that city. This is why you have to be very careful when you are transferring jobs, especially from one state to another. Okay? And you're transferring, you best find out what the unemployment laws and rules are of that state you're going to. Why? Because some job transfers don't work out. And you don't want to have moved from, I don't know, let's say Virginia to Rhode Island, and to find out that Rhode Island says, oh no, you haven't been in our state long enough, not only just long enough, but working. Okay, it's not just being in the state. You have not paid enough dollars and or enough hours into our unemployment. We're not going to give you anything. So then you've just moved from one state to another and you've got nothing. But yet, had you stayed in the state you moved from, you would have accrued plenty of hours in employment because maybe you'd lived there for 10 years. In other words, every state has its own laws and rules facing unemployment. So you need to be very careful that whenever you change jobs, either in or out of state, that you understand what the unemployment rules are. It's not as simple as, hey, I got a job. Oh, shucks, I got laid off. Give me my unemployment.
Let me begin by saying we hoped we wouldn't be in this position again, and we deeply...
I want you to, as we're going through this sounds like a robocall. In other words, I don't think she says anything in this video, but I swear this is just simply a robocall that this either owner, hiring manager, whatever, okay, corporate stiff that goes around firing people, okay, simply did a recording.
regret the impact this decision may have on you. For that, I am truly very sorry. This decision is not a reflection on you as individuals. I also want to say you've been tremendous team members, colleagues, and friends to me and so many others. We are here to support you both personally and professionally as you navigate next steps. We will begin deactivating all systems access at this time. At this time, I'll end the call.
And for those who might not have seen the screen, she was getting laid off on the same day she was celebrating her 5th year of sobriety. Okay, so from refraining from alcohol. So good for her. But again, what is that line? That's ubiquitous, it seems. This is not a reflection on you. But wasn't that just a cold robocall and then trying to sound so sincere, as if they really understand what you're going through? I'm not saying that the people who are doing the job of laying you off haven't also had to lay themselves off. I had a boss who told me twice she had laid herself off because she was the HR manager, and so she had to do her own layoff paperwork. I mean, you want to talk about crying in tears. I was like, how'd you get through that? She's like, well, she goes, I'm an HR person, so it is what it is. But again, it's that cold robocall. But remember, it's no reflection on you.
Okay, so just my 2 cents in regards to the tech layoff. I unfortunately was in that wave of people who got laid off. So a little bit about me and my career path. Before breaking into tech, I worked in the mortgage industry. During the pandemic, everyone was refinancing, so I was able to make a salary plus bonus because at that time interest rates were low and everybody was refinancing, which means we had a lot of business. I got laid off this time last year, so about January, February, from my mortgage industry job. I was an underwriter. A couple months later, I found a job with an IT consulting company, and one of our clients was or is the social media platform for business professional. I'm not going to say the name, but you can put 2 and 2 together. So 8 months later, I got laid off. The good thing about my company is instead of laying you off, I had a couple of different options. I could either take a severance package and get a lump sum. I want to say it was 6 to 8 weeks worth of pay, or I can find other positions within the company, and that is what I did. Luckily, yesterday I just found out that I am moving to a different department and actually doing technical skills.
That is the best outcome, is if the company that's having to cut your position can give you a position in another area of the company. And something to consider for those that may be young and inexperienced about this, it's not always going to be about the dollar. In other words, you may be given a choice of take this new position, even though it's going to have a pay cut, or go ahead and take the severance package. My piece of advice is to tell you to think really open-minded about taking a position even though it has a pay cut. Consider the stress, consider the hours put into, rebuilding your resume, printing out the resume, buying the resume paper, networking, and doing all the different things that are required to get a job. So where the severance package may look like the immediate go-to, hey, you know what? They're laying me off and they're willing to give me 6 weeks severance. Well, that 6 weeks is going to fly by. Whereas I can avoid being totally laid off from the company if I'm willing to take a $5,000 pay cut, even $10,000. Yes. And a lot of people have had to take even more. So only you can determine what's best for your budget. But one of the things to always consider is to see, okay, even if I have to take a pay cut. Now, I don't know if this gal took a pay cut or not, but she was able to stay with the company. But even if you have to take a pay cut, sometimes that can be the better deal than taking a severance package. But again, I caution, just like we talked about at the beginning of this video, look at how many years you've been with the company. Look at what your pay is if you have access to such information compared to the pay of other people in your corporation. And if you really find you're hitting, you are at the top, like you're going to be considered the outlier in pay, you may want to consider taking the severance package, and if you can, moving to another company. Or if some of you are fortunate enough, pick up a new skill. But I don't recommend picking up a skill that's going to have you going back into school and getting into student loan debt.
And reduce our operating expenses. And unfortunately, your role is being impacted by these reductions. It's a very difficult decision, as you can imagine, but at this point, the decision is final. And again, the decision was based solely on the needs of the business as we work through this period of transformation. I think most importantly, we want to thank you for everything you've done, and we want to provide for you and make sure that you have everything you need at this point to move forward. So I could appreciate that you may have a lot of questions related to your separation and as far as timing and everything that's next. So unless you have anything specific for me at this point, I'll turn it over to Jen to walk you through all the details of your transition.
I don't know if it was just me, but I thought he sounded kind of harsh in such a sensitive situation. The words were all right, so to speak, except for the part, and this is just my thinking, okay, where he says, and that decision is final. Yeah, we know the decision is final. We got that. You don't have to hit that over our head. She looks the way most of us look when just all the blood is running out of us. I remember one of the jobs I got laid off on, in my early 30s, I was living in Oregon. They literally had to have me lie down on the office, the coffee room they had, was an insurance company. I literally had to go lie down on the couch because I was getting as pale and white as this gal is. It just, those of us who have been through it, and most of us have, okay? And of course, the first thing you're thinking, especially if you live alone, is how am I going to pay for everything? You don't have someone to lean on. It's just you. Okay, that's the worst situation. All right, next best is you have a spouse, and then after that maybe you got some family members. In other words, you're not going to be homeless, even though it's a stressful situation. But it's just like all the blood has left her face, and then he's got to sit and say, and that decision is final. Like slap, slap, slap. So I feel her pain. I think a lot of us do.
I can apply for unemployment, and my state would have to pay me 80% of what I make.
No hate to this creator, but unfortunately that's not how unemployment works. As someone that is self-employed or 1099 or a contractor, if you're not traditionally employed. So I'm Caitlin Magnuson. I'm the founder of the Freelance CFO, a full service accounting firm, and I deal with this all the time. So we did see during COVID some changes. We did see 1099 freelance contract workers have some unemployment options for the first time in my working history. I've never seen that in the past. However, what normally happens when you are self-employed, you are paying payroll taxes or self-employment taxes, which is FICA, Social Security, Medicare, etc., and you're paying income taxes. However, you're not generally paying into unemployment insurance. You can sometimes, if you have an S election, there are some options with unemployment insurance. But even if you were, let's say that you were paying into unemployment insurance, you are limited to a certain percentage of your income, but there is a cap. So I know someone in the comments had said, like, oh, in this state, it's $504 or 80% of your income, whichever is greater. So this is a real concern for high income earners because it doesn't take that much to be above $500 a month in pay. And what a lot of people don't understand is, like, let's say you're making $60,000 a year. If your salary is $60,000 a year, it's $5,000 a month. It's $1,250 a week, roughly. We're approximating here. And if your state caps unemployment at $550, that's a $700 gap in income per week. Even though you're making more than that, you're not getting 80% of your full pay unless you're paid a lower amount.
A lot of people misunderstand unemployment. The same thing is true actually for short-term disability also. A lot of people think that if they have short-term disability that they'll be covered for 6 weeks. No, a certain percentage of your income will be covered. It can be as little as 50-60%. I think is usually about just right around there. So you have to understand, folks. The other thing too is don't get all your information off TikTok. I mean, as much as I like doing TikTok videos, okay, go to people who are actually reputable. You shouldn't even take completely what I say on TikTok. All right, because these are my thoughts, my opinions, and you'll hear me say it many times. I'll tell you, I'm not really familiar with this. I don't quite understand this. Gotta give me room to backtrack, whatnot. But a lot of people don't understand, including YouTube content creators and people who quit their jobs so they can become a YouTube content creator. And I'll do another video on that down the road, okay, about why I think that's a crazy idea for 90% of us to, quit our day job, become a YouTube content creator. Okay, I think for about 90% of us, it's not a good idea, myself included. But a lot of people don't realize that you have to pay self-employment tax. You have to pay unemployment insurance. Yes, these are things that your employer, that horrible job we don't want to do from 9 to 5, so to speak, okay? Because that mean, awful employer is having us, work 9 to 5, and we don't want to do that. Well, they're covering most, if not all of that. Not to mention medical insurance, as we all know, okay? So I don't want to get too far off on the topic, but the bottom line is, for people start sitting and going, hey, you know what, I'm going to be self-employed, yada, yada, and then they start acting like they understand the rules of self-employment or how unemployment insurance works. Most of the time they don't. Most of the time it's just Reddit and TikTok inexperienced users speaking. So always be careful about that. But yeah, and it's interesting that she used a $60,000 example because I make $63,000, and if I don't know what Florida's unemployment is capped at. I've heard it states as much as $700 a week. Okay, but yeah, it doesn't take long to cap out. Let's just say your state is at $600 a week. Okay, that's assuming you make more than that. Okay, it has to be a certain percentage. But for some people, guys, come on. $600 doesn't even cover a car payment. This is why you gotta live within your means.
I just got laid off for the second time at the same company. I just got back from vacation yesterday. Was out of office. I had coworkers that were texting me that they were laid off, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm literally so sorry. I'm feeling horrible. I'm wondering what's happening, what's going on. Opened my email today, started sorting through, the 200 plus emails that I missed, being out 4 days, and then VP slapped a meeting on my calendar, jumped on, HR's there, I'm shaking, crying. Wow. Anywho, can't trust anybody, literally at all. They already logged me out of everything within 10 minutes of the call being over. I have no access to anything. I'm just a person.
I think that's part of what really is emotionally bruising, damaging to former employees. It's like 1 minute you're logged in and the next minute you're logged out with oftentimes no word from anyone. I mean, it's a cruel way to let people go. Okay, it would be like me logging into the district one morning. I'm happy and I'm logging in, and all of a sudden it's reads error message, contact HR. So I understand, the emotional feeling of that. The other thing too is she said she was on vacation. A lot of people are afraid to take vacation because they're afraid of what? Losing their job. They are afraid of, if I leave my job for so much as, a 2-3, day weekend, that they're going to see that they don't need me and I'm not going to have a job when I get back. But here's my rebuttal to that. And I think we've seen it over and over again in videos. Folks, if they want to get rid of you for whatever reason, it's not going to matter if you take your vacation or not. You going on vacation or not is not going to make the difference as to whether or not they're going to go, yep, she didn't go on vacation this year, so we're going to keep her extra, $50,000 a year job. If they're going to let you go, they're going to let you go. And you taking vacation is not going to make or break it. Always remember, they knew you were going to be let go long before they told you. And I'm going to bet weeks, if not months. I won't say years, but weeks, if not months in advance, they knew you were going to be let go. And in many positions, many companies, if you don't take your vacation, guess what? You lose it. So now you work 24/7 for a company around the clock that was just going to let you go, and you lost your vacation because you didn't use it. So my suggestion, if you got vacation time, you use it. Now I'm pretty lucky here at the school district. They will pay us out whatever unused vacation we have. So I feel pretty fortunate about that. But again, we're talking on public service. But if you're in the private sector, my suggestion, you got vacation, take it. Because it's not going to make or break how they choose to fund your position.
So I was laid off today, and I'm an attorney, and my page is actually dedicated to me being an attorney in New York City and what that's like. I mean, I'm still an attorney. I have my license. I passed the New York State Bar. I graduated law school. I have my JD. No one can take that from me. But now I'm an attorney without a job, so that's new for me.
Now I have to stop for a second. She says, no one can take that from me. Where have we heard this a lot, family? We hear it a lot from students who have gone to school, paid too much for college. They're now reckoning their life around their student loan debt. And what do we hear? Well, I may have $75,000 in college debt. I'm working at Starbucks, making, I don't know what does Starbucks employees make, 18 an hour. I don't know what Starbucks employees make. Okay, but they're dealing with their unaffordable student loan. But they go, but nobody can take the education from me. My experience after having a student loan debt for 16 years that grew from 85 to 110,000 until it was paid off in 2022 by you awesome taxpayers. No, they can go ahead and take the education away from me, and I'll find a less expensive way to get myself learned. I know that's easier said than done, but I think you get my point. It's a common phrase. Well, they can't take the education from me.
I've never not had a job since I was 14 years old, babysitting. At most times I've had 2 to 3 jobs even through high school and college. I'm always doing a job. You can catch me working 24/7. Really strange for me to get a call this morning telling me that I'd been laid off. I just saw it coming. We've been having a lot of layoffs in the last month. They laid off 3 out of the 7 attorneys. They have kind of high turnover at that firm. I pretty much spent my entire day crying and calling my whole family. It's honestly been hours since I found out. I'm exhausted and my head hurts. Showered and got ready because I figured I'm not going to be unemployed and ugly. I'll just be unemployed. Tickets to see Interstellar tonight with my boyfriend. Go see the movie because I thought I'd rather leave the house than spend the night at home crying.
Self-care is very important when you're laid off. It is very, very important. And all the difficulties I've had in my life, both financially, relationship-wise, employment-wise, and everything else, I have never, ever stopped going to the gym. I've never, ever stopped. That's my self-care. So if looking beautiful and wearing the nice clothes you have, whatever. Okay. The only thing I caution is buying stuff that you can't afford, because if you're unemployed, you're probably not in a position. Most of us are not in a position to just go, on a frivolous, shopping escapade. But we can still say, you know what, I don't feel good, but it's kind of like, taking a shower when you're sick. You come out feeling better, even though you're still sick. I think the same thing with job layoffs. People, you got to treat yourself kind. You know, ladies, if that means, and some of you guys out there too, if that means putting on your lipstick and your eyeliner, you do it. You do it.
If you're employed by a business, look out for these potential layoff signs. My name is Craig Levy, and I'm an employment law attorney. Many companies will lay off individuals in January, but they'll start to provide signals now. For example, your supervisor or HR may make certain comments to tip you off, like the company is in the process of a reorg. Anytime there's a reorg, there could be position eliminations.
I think reorg means reorganization.
They may also reference declining profits within the company, which is a signal that there may need to be eliminations in the workplace. Or they could demonstrate that the company is making significant cutbacks. For example, with the holiday party. If there isn't a holiday party, they could be sending a signal to the employees that they can't afford it. But
now, speaking of holiday parties, I have to tell you, okay, I went to a holiday party for the last 3 years for the same business. That's all I'm going to say. 3 years ago when I went to the holiday party, it was, I mean, just the bomb. Okay, we're talking music, all you can, you know, open bar. I don't drink, but still, doesn't mean I don't understand how expensive alcohol is, okay, because I don't drink. But it was open bar. I mean, all the foods you could have, candles on the table, yada, yada, you know, held outdoors with black tablecloths, the whole 9 yards, and it lasted like 3 hours. And then, of course, you know, after the pandemic and things started falling apart, that was about 3 years ago, okay. Last year, it was literally just a cheese and cracker plate, and I think they gave everyone a little fruit cake or something like that. It was like a fruit cake thing, okay? Yes. And then the year after that being, I guess, last year, there was no holiday party at all. The suffering and the pain is real. And this wasn't a corporation. This was a smaller mom and pop office, okay, run by a husband and a wife who have a small business. But I mean, you can see it. You could see the economic decline. And it was very obvious.
Takeaway is that employees should look out for these signals because they don't want to be caught flat-footed if their job is eliminated. If you see this in the workplace, you may want to start looking for a different position.
For those of you who are young in the workforce, it's really important to start your own network of people that you know. Because the person that you know today that you know is in an entry level position could rise into another position by tomorrow. So it's really important to start keeping a network of people that you know. And it's also, and I know this goes without saying, but for whatever, we got to say it. It's why you got to be nice to people, even those you may not like. Okay. You're just working together, okay? That we're not asking you to marry each other, hold each other's hands at a dance. We're just saying work on a project together, work on this assignment together. It's really, really important. You don't know the people today, okay, and where they're going to be tomorrow. I have worked for people who started at my level and are now my boss. All right. So I like to keep that confidential, but I mean, it matters. It matters. Okay. So don't be poo-pooing somebody because you think they aren't as good as you, or you even see them as beneath you. Okay. The person that you're working with today at the dollar store, that's, you know, just the box boy or girl, and you're the cashier seen as a higher light. I know you probably do it all, but follow me here, okay? Pretend, okay? That box boy could rise above you to become the shift manager, could rise above you to become the store manager, could rise above you to become the executive for the dollar store, right? Hey, guys, when you are talking people in their early 20s, you don't know where you're going to be at. And burning bridges with, you know, less than pleasant attitudes. I'm not saying that's you. I'm not saying that's you. But you really got to be careful. Just got you know, you just got to be really careful about that. But these end of year layoff signs, start networking now. Keep that black book. And when I say keep that little black book, I'm not saying just contact those people only when you need something, because that can be a turnoff to professional people also. It's like the only time I hear from you is when you want something. I don't like to call it kissing up in the corporate world. This is why I left corporate. I can't handle corporate, okay? I can't do it. I did it for 15 years. But, you know, it's kind of like, you know, stay in touch. You know, help remember the things that are important going on in their life. You know, in the little black book, so and so just had a baby. So the next time you see them, so how's the 2-year-old? It's been about 2 years, right? You see what I mean? It's a finesse game. I could play it now. Now you could put my butt in a corporate now, and I would do just fine. But 20 years ago when I was in it, actually I've been a teacher almost for 20 years, so let's back up 30 years ago. 35 years ago when I was in it, it wasn't my thing. Today, I would take it and I'd rock it. So.
A day after we closed on our house, my fiance got laid off. We bought a brand new build and it was taking a lot of time. My fiance is in sales. So if you're in sales, like, you know, like, being in sales, you need to have thick skin and you need to be working constantly, because if you don't hit your number, you're fired. My fiance tends to freak out a lot. Each month he's like, I'm gonna get fired. He's been with them for so long. So it's like, you're in your head, like, get out of it. Anyway, fast forward to like the day after we closed, we're like super excited. And he's working on something in HR Slack him and says, hey, we need to talk. And his manager was telling him the news, and then right after she had the audacity to say, I hope we can still be friends. We're spiraling. Basically almost drained his bank account for this down payment. Are we gonna be able to afford to live here? We're gonna have to claim bankruptcy. We're gonna have to sell our house. He was talking to my cousin about he's always wanted to start his own company. But a few weeks in, my cousin calls him and puts Chris, my fiance, on the spot. And he's like, let me talk to him. He's like, hey, I have a potential customer here for you. I need you to talk to him so you can sell whatever it is that you're trying to sell. Chris automatically goes into like salesy mode and starts like selling this kind of product that he doesn't have yet, right? Sold him. All of a sudden, it kind of just lit the fire. Things are just so much better now. If you're going through a really hard time, you know what really helped is like filming yourself in that moment and say in that moment how you're feeling. And then a year later, I want you to look back on that and reflect at how far you've come.
So Caroline,
all right, folks.
as it shared.
If by chance you missed Holiday TikTok 1, all right, it's going to be right up here at the top. And if you saw that, let's go ahead and look at the bottom, because you know it's Christmas season has just ended, and you know people have bought too much cars, and we're going to look at TikTok and people who bought too much cars down here. So pick one, and I'll see you in just a few minutes.